I've been
unmasked.
unmasked. How do you say your name?
So my username is Cassandra.
Cassandra.
But my name's Cassandra.
Cassandra.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So, Cassandra, first we're just going to go ahead and just dive right in the deep end. I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself, any type of accomplishments, accolades, anything you want the general public to know about you that maybe isn't usually said when they're introducing you. However you want to introduce yourself, go ahead and just kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
All right. Well, my name is Cassandra. I'm known as Cass Iseal on my social medias. And, well, first of all, I'm a mother. And other than that, professionally, I'm a makeup artist, and I'm a model and a content creator.
Okay. I'm going to move this a little bit closer.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
No worries. So when you say content creator,
Yes.
does that just mean like influencer, or like what does content creator mean?
I feel like now there's a new definition for content creator for sure. I'm trying to dive into helping like small businesses, just in general, the like stuff going on in Arizona. I think getting exposed to Arizona Fashion Week helped me get into like the more general stuff as well.
Okay.
I think as a content creator, it's really like video editing.
Yeah.
I kind of make any video. I'm really good at editing like any type of video. I've even had like other brands like reach out to me just because of my video editing and be like, oh, like, can you edit this video for us? Because we really like your style of editing. So I used to, I guess, consider myself an influencer. Most people would say, oh, you're an influencer. But I like calling myself a content creator because I like making content for other businesses and helping like the community in different ways.
It's very interesting with how a lot of these different terms, like at first it's not too bad, but then they get like it seems like every profile I go on that has more than like 10K followers on Instagram, it always says content creator. And I'm like, I don't know what that means because everybody on here is a content creator. Yeah. Everyone's creating content in some capacity.
Well, they don't have an influencer tag under them.
I know, yeah.
They do have like public figure, I would say is the closest thing you could get maybe more to an influencer. But that's why I think more people lean towards the content creator because they want to let brands know like, I'm down to create content for you.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people have some stigma behind the public figure thing because it's like if you have that and unless like you are Leonardo DiCaprio or Johnny Depp or something, it's like you're a public figure, huh? You mean you posting TikTok videos of you dancing makes you a public figure?
Yeah.
Like if I were to see you in downtown, would I immediately recognize you?
Probably not.
So that's where I can kind of understand where that whole public figure and stuff comes from.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you were also a entrepreneur and like businesswoman, right?
I did. I started my own business this year actually. So it's a kids brand, baby kids brand. I started it after I became a mom. I just wanted to, I was taking a lot of pictures of my baby and I felt like, let me take pictures of him in the clothes I want to promote. And there's not a lot of clothes for baby boys. Yeah. So I wanted to, it's a really specific style. It leans into my culture. So I wanted it to be like a modern Mexican look to the kids. That's just how I dress my son, and everyone would always kind of compliment how I would dress him. So that's kind of the style I pick for the brand. And my brand's called Little Solecito. So it's bilingual. Okay. It means like solecito means sun in Spanish, so little like sun. Yeah. But in English, I wrote it so it would say like little soul, like a little soul.
Okay.
So, because that's how I see my baby boy. Like he's a little soul that I'm taking care of, that I'm trying to make into a good, great man in this world today.
I definitely get that.
Yeah.
So this sounds like this was a brand that like if I were to ask the young Cassandra, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? You would not have said, I want to make little baby boy clothes. It sounds like it was something that like motherhood kind of triggered this kind of entrepreneur spirit to chase this type of career. Am I on the right track?
It kind of goes both ways. I feel like I've always had an entrepreneur spirit. I just never knew what I wanted to start with. And I feel like in your journey, you're always going to have so many different businesses. Like I have other ones that I do want to start as well. It's just this is the first one that I researched, looked into it, and I got to it. Like I actually did it. You know how you could have like many ideas, but they're all, I saw this quote that said like they're all like pretty much an idea until you actually bring it to life and do it and start taking the steps to do it. So I feel like this is the one that I was like, I'm gonna just actually do this. And and the name too, I think for me, like when I start a brand or a business, I really want to feel like that it's meant to be, like with the name and with everything. So I don't want to just start something just because. So I have ideas, but like maybe the names haven't came to me yet. So I'm still like waiting for it to be like that timing. And with this, like it was the timing, you know, I was just a mom. All my friends are moms. And so it was just the timing was a good timing, and the name also came to me, and I really fell in love with the name. So it was perfect timing. But I feel like I've always had definitely the dreams to like start my own business, because I think that really came from working. I used to work at a bank. So for
Which
many
bank?
years, Desert Financial.
Oh, okay. I did work at regular banks and credit
It was a credit union,
I did Arizona Central Credit Union.
Oh, okay. I did Desert Financial. I was there for 3 years.
Our biggest competitor.
Oh gosh, it's okay. I was there for 3 years. So I started as a teller and worked myself up to a manager. And then I was trying to really, at that time, like my social media was really popping off with my makeup and everything. So I was trying to balance all the opportunities I was getting with working, and that was very difficult. So eventually I feel like I had to go for what my heart really wants, and it is to follow like my creative side and do something more on the entrepreneur side.
Right.
So working for someone else just wasn't, I knew it's just not going to be it for the rest of my life.
I know a lot of people want to take that jump, but it's a jump that not a lot of people are in the spot to take it because of things like they're supporting themselves, and so they need the financial security of being able to pay the bills, or they can't save the money and stuff. Did you have kind of like a safety net to kind of fall back on?
Interesting. So that, I think I learned a lot working at a financial institution. I've always said, wow, like high schools and all these places should be teaching more financial literacy and all these things for us to understand, because you come out and you know nothing about credit and all this stuff. So I did learn a lot in working at Desert Financial. So when I was 18, that's when I was working there, I made a plan to buy my own home by the time I was 21. So I saved up, and I had the work history, the credit and everything, and I was able to buy my own home at 21. It was I know it was a good time too. It was crazy because everyone was telling me to not do it, that it was like that the prices were gonna go down. This was, like I said, like before COVID, like the sweet spot. And I actually got, like I said, a really good sweet spot. Like I got my home for like $250. Now it's worth like $500.
Holy shit.
And my interest rate, I know, it's like I said, I hope that happens for everyone again, because I know the market right now is just not what it was then. But I try to teach like my sisters and friends around me to save and to work on their credit. I do know about that. So I feel like as long as you make a plan, nothing's going to happen overnight. And I think that's where people get anxiety and get frustrated and give up, is because everyone thinks things are going to happen overnight. And it's not. It's about having a goal and then looking at a plan how to get there, and then working towards it every day. And that might take you years. It took me years. Like I knew when I was 18 and I had that dream of getting a home when I was 21, you know, that took me a few years. So, and I knew in those years, hey, I'm going to be responsible with my credit. I'm going to save up as much as I can. And yeah, so I think every goal, you just have to have a plan and then start slowly taking those steps towards it, like a little ladder.
Now, when it comes to doing that, obviously it's everyone's dream to be able to buy their first home or in their early 20s and be able to do all that. Everyone's circumstance is different. And I'm kind of curious about what your circumstance kind of looked like in that period of time, because a lot of people, such as myself, like I've been fully on my own since I could legally be on my own, which meant I paid every bill by myself. I didn't live at home.
You rented right away?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I went right into like I think the summer after I turned 18, I moved in with my dad for like 3 months, but then right after that he was already planning to leave the state. So he was like, all right, you can stay here for a few months, but then I'm going to help you find this apartment and it's going to be up to you to kind of keep up with it. And so literally since I was 18, I've been renting on my own. And so when you have bills like that, especially at a young age, to where like there's no possible way for you to have a degree unless you're freaking Sheldon Cooper off of Big Bang Theory. And you can be graduating college by 15 or something. Yeah. And those kind of instances, it does, I don't know, it's like the result from your hard work, it almost, for some people could be like, well, it might have been easy for you if you had a certain circumstance, like if you got to live at home and you didn't have to pay rent. I know there are a lot of parents, like as long as you have a stable job and you're doing something with your life, live here all you want, I don't give a shit. Was that kind of the situation you're in, or were you in like my situation?
Well, I just like, I'll say like, yes, I was, like I said, I was young. Yeah. So I was still living at home. I wouldn't expect me to be like 18 already out like renting. So what happened is like I always, maybe like the family situation at home wasn't always the best. So I always knew I really wanted to leave as soon as I could. Yeah. So I started working when I was like 16. Like my first job was like Jack in the Box. And so like, yes, I would be living at home, but how do I say, like I would have multiple jobs. And
you were living at home, but like you weren't at home all the time. You were
like I don't want to say for sure my parents helped me in having a home and not having to pay rent, but I still feel like I worked towards having like all my personal stuff I had.
And that wasn't to like discount your hard work.
No, you're good. Like I said, it was good timing as well, because I was so young and it was 2019, so the prices of everything was just different. And I knew I could have moved out sooner, if that makes sense, and just been on my own. But I knew from working at the bank that renting is, ideally you want to be a homeowner and not be renting, because, you know, you are not to, like, I know right now the circumstances for everyone is difficult, and renting is the most common thing. But back then I feel like you did have a little bit more choice to be like, okay, and I knew in my head I never wanted to rent. So I was like, I felt like renting was just like giving my money away to someone.
Well, some people I feel like could say that like circumstances were in your favor. At the same time, I do want to make it notable the fact that yes, you were in a certain circumstance to where you were able to save that money, but you had a specific goal and you still went for that goal instead. Like you could have, I'm sure you had to do like the 10 to 20% down, and that you probably still had to have at least 10 to 20K saved to be able to put a down payment on this house. I know so many people, especially in their early 20s, that would have that 10 to 20K and they wouldn't put that towards a house. They'd go and buy a chain or go and buy a new car. Or
I feel like when you're that young, you know, buying a home isn't on everyone's mind. It's just not. And for me, because of my circumstances, it was on my mind to just like, I want to leave my home as soon as I can.
Where do you think the drive for that came from? Like, I know that you said like your circumstances kind of drove that, but I'm kind of curious as to like where this such driven goal
Cass
mentality?
came from? Well, look, I was born in Mexico, and my dad passed away when I was 5. And so my mom, I think, has been my inspiration to just like, she threw herself after that to a whole new country. She came over here to work with a family friend, and she was sending me and my grandma money back in Mexico. Then once she met my stepdad, and they brought me back here to Arizona when I was 5. So that's why I've lived here like practically my whole life. Then here, I guess that is a little kind of personal, but just the relationship, I guess, with my stepdad wasn't the best growing up.
Also, don't be afraid to get vulnerable. You might not have heard the previous episodes, but I go very vulnerable, very deep. So don't. None of these guys are gonna judge you.
Yeah, no.
It's not.
I think it's always important to be vulnerable and to teach. I think that's how you learn. Other people learn from your
having
journey.
A voice when others can't.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like I said, I just had like a tough time with my stepdad, and that is what really motivated me to want to get out of my house. So like, that's why I said it's like sometimes some things are a blessing in disguise, because I would say I did have like I don't want to say I had a stable childhood emotionally. I don't know so much.
Yeah.
So that's why, like I said, like it's like both that's why I would also go out and work. I just didn't want to be home.
Yeah, no, I completely get that. I had a very similar type of instance where my first job I got when I was 12. And so I was working then, and a lot of it was also because I just didn't want to be home. And then I remember, like, I think I was like 15 or 16. I did not want to be home so bad that I literally went into the calendar and went to what would be my 18th birthday. And I literally put "move the fuck out" on my 18th, like on that day, because
like some of us have that drive, and that's just, I feel like, something that I had ever since I was 16. Like I said, I worked multiple jobs, so I was under a lot of different managers. So then eventually I knew like working for someone else for the rest of my life wasn't it either. So then, now I got into the entrepreneurship. Well, now I'm a mom. Now I'm with my partner. So he definitely helps me be more stable. I don't want to, obviously, just that does help me be right now, like, more of a stay-at-home mom, and let me get into all my creative stuff as well. So now it's just balancing motherhood and everything going on.
What is that like for you? Because I don't have any kids or anything, so I can only imagine what it's like to balance new motherhood along with trying to, because I don't necessarily know the success of this business. Is this business like, is it a profitable business for you right now? Is it?
Well, right now I'm just starting it. So right now it's more of an investment. I'm just anything I make, I just reinvest it back into it. That's another advice I would give to anyone starting a business, right off the bat.
Yeah.
Like I said, everyone thinks from the outside that everything is just gonna happen overnight, and it doesn't. It takes determination and hard work. I think that has happened because of like the trend of just like manifesting going on. So people think that they can just like think about it, and it should just like come into their reality. And it is kind of true, but like it takes, like I said, it's having that idea and then doing all those daily steps towards it to bring it into your reality. That's how I would say it works more. So it does take still the hard work.
As someone of faith plus like the background of spirituality and stuff, like I know all that stuff about manifestation, and that's always been like a thing for me, as well as that whole manifestation thing with people that, like, yes, you can see some stuff works out for certain people, but you also don't get to see the blood, sweat, and tears that they actually put into it. Because the way my philosophy is, you're not going to get something you haven't earned, and it's not going to be sustainable. Yes, there's that lottery winning chance that you might be able to get something, but it's not going to be sustained. And so when it comes to these people that are just like manifesting, and they get mad because it's like, oh, I've been trying to manifest this for this long. It's like, well, it doesn't matter if you sit there in the corner every day saying, I want $1 million, I want $1 million.
Yeah, you can't meditate yourself into,
it's like, well,
I feel, into a mansion or something.
Yeah, it's like you can say like, I want $1 million, but then it's like, well, if there's no avenue for, in my case, like God to give you $1 million, you're not going to get $1 million.
Yeah.
You have to, like, yes, it's good to have that goal, but then you also have to do something worthy of that goal. You know, that's just my philosophy. Obviously, I'm not a psychic, I'm not God, I'm not
that's how
that.
That's how I kind of view the world as well.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's not, you can't, I've dug into both the spirituality and my faith, so I feel like now I lean towards more my faith than the other stuff, but I learned that from exploring all that and being like, what the heck.
And I think it also has to go into personal timing, because everyone has their own clock, and too many people try to replicate other people's clocks.
Yeah.
And
don't compare yourself to other people. That's like the biggest mistake you can start making. Like, none of us are the same, and that's a good thing. We're all on our own journeys, and that's why, like, I wouldn't want, like, me getting a house at 21 to like pressure anyone to make anyone else feel like they're not doing good because they don't have a house at that age, you know? Like, it's not about that. It's about, I feel like you should be around people that are bigger than you so that you get inspired and you can ask them questions and you can be like, so how'd you do this? How'd you do that? Not to compare yourself and put yourself down.
That was a big issue that I had for the longest time, because social media, I feel like, teaches us a lot of times that if you're not replicating what this other 20-year-old is doing on his social media, and you're not buying a Lamborghini by the time you're 16, you're not living in the penthouse in New York City by the time you're 18 and doing all this, that you're a failure in life. And
no, definitely not.
To me, that's the most bullshit thing in the world, because I mean, I've gone through those stages so many times where I'll go on social media and I'll see some fucking 21-year-old kid that's like, oh, it's about my third Rolls Royce, I just got this, I just made my $10th million in this business and stuff, and it's like, well, it's awesome that you have those results, but I don't know what your circumstances look like before that. I don't know what the story that has led you to this point, because maybe you come from a trust fund family and you didn't have to work when you were 16. You got to do this, and then it was like, hey, Dad, can I have $10 million to invest in this business? And then boom, now you're coming online saying that you just, in your first year, made 6 figures in this business, when it's like, well, you invested $10 million into it to make 6 figures back. So there's just so many uncovered coins that I feel like people underestimate. Like, even you have a very substantial following on social media, so I can guarantee 100%, I'm sure you know this, that there are plenty of women your age following you and be like, oh my God, I wish I had her life. I wish that I was as successful as she is. I wish that I was doing this. I know that you probably have the same feeling towards others, though. I know that there's probably some bigger fish than you that you kind of look towards. Have you struggled with that feeling of comparison?
I feel like it's a natural human feeling. So I feel like it's just something, though, that you learn once you're like maturing to not compare yourself.
Right.
But at the beginning, like, obviously, like, even in like school, like, it happens, like, it's a natural human feeling until you start realizing it's not going to benefit you to be feeling that way. So that's when you really kind of have to change your mindset and not see it that way.
What was the process like for you to be able to kind of change your mindset from having that kind of envious feeling towards these other possible influencers and people that were doing what you quote unquote wanted to do to having that more healthy mindset? Because, I mean, do you still have that thing of comparing yourself to others, or have you been able to kind of overcome that a little bit to like live your own
really
life?
feel like I have been able to overcome that, because I just feel like you can never be in someone else's shoes. Like, even if you see that their life looks perfect, it's not. We are all human, and you don't know what price they're paying to have what they do. So sometimes I wouldn't want to be anyone else. I love being me. I love my life. And that is the mindset change that happened, is loving your own life and working and just focusing on your own path instead of like I'm always running into bigger people, but like I said, now I really use it as an avenue to be like, wow, like, what is this person doing? What can I learn from this person to add to myself? Not oh my gosh, like I don't know, like there's no point of even trying to compete, because you're just different people. It's not gonna happen. You're just on different journeys. You just, like I said, I've learned that you just can't compare. All you're gonna do is hurt yourself and get distracted on what you're supposed to be focused on.
What was the moment or event that kind of led to this shift in mindset from going from that envious point to this, like, you know, I have my own path, I'm going to focus on myself, I'm going to learn from these other people instead of being envious of them? Was there a certain, like, turning point that you can remember that you're like, you know what, shut the fuck up to your own brain for a second and then just rewired it?
Maybe, I want to say, like, maybe motherhood really gives you kind of like the in life to be like, okay, like, I am striving for me and my baby, so I, like, plus, like, I have my baby, like, I would not want any other baby. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, they change your perspective. Like, they make you want, there's like, even like mistakes that maybe you would have made in your past that you're just like, dang, like, if I would have done this, like, maybe my life would be different. But then you see your baby and you're just like, well, it's okay, because now I'm here, and and then, like, if you would have changed something in life, you don't know if you would have that same baby. So you're just like, no, I would. Everything is meant to be just as it is. And so, I think motherhood definitely gave me, like, more, like just the urge to, like, just go for what I want and not really care about others.
Do you think it was because of becoming a mother that this new drive has been instilled in you? Because I feel like a lot of times when I talk to a parent, especially for the first time, like, it's a brand new kid. I said, like, they just bought a new car. They're like they're a new parent.
It's a lot. It's like, a lot, yeah.
But there's a new sense of responsibility that's instilled in you. Like, before having a kid, you're responsible for yourself and nobody else. But now that you're a parent, you're responsible for a whole other human being. So I feel like a lot of times when I've talked to them, they didn't have the same drive then. They're like, I work this hard now because I'm a father and because I want to provide a certain lifestyle for my child I didn't have. Before that, they were partying every weekend. They were fucking staying up to 3 in the morning.
I would say I'm partying more now. I would. I'm not, like, I really do now more just because of the events going on right now. But I would say that, sorry, I kind of lost my train of track there with the whole partying thing.
No, you're good.
I was like,
you're good.
I was going to go back to what you were actually talking about.
Yeah.
What was it?
Like, with having, like, was your drive the same before having a kid?
I would say it was a lot because, like I said, I started working when I was 16.
Yeah.
I would just say, like, having a kid is just more like to not, like, eat just a little bit on steroids.
Yeah. Just kind of instills a little bit more.
Just a little bit more, because you are in charge now of, like, raising a whole nother human being. And then you look around the world and you're just like, oh my gosh, like, I want to raise a decent human being. And so it takes a lot of time, of your energy, not just money, but a lot of your mental health, I would say, too. You want to heal yourself. So I think becoming a mom is what really motivated to want to heal myself from the inside, and I feel like now those things are starting to show up on the outside.
I know on this show we talk primarily about entrepreneurial endeavors and creative stuff, but I know that especially in our age range, I'm assuming that we're in the same age range, there's a lot of new mothers and stuff out there. I have no idea the full demographic of who listens to this, but I can only assume that there's at least going to be 1 or 2 mothers that are, like, they're having their first child and they're completely lost. So I kind of want to dive a little bit into, like, how your life has changed, some of the obstacles and some of, like, just the highs and lows that's come of becoming a new parent yourself.
Okay. Well, I mean, the highs are obviously, like, you get to love this new human being in your life that just fills you up when you see them. But it is challenging. I feel like that, like, not a lot of women talk about their pregnancy, and, like, you see everything on social media looks pretty. Like I said, it looks pretty. no one talks about the real hardships. I'm telling you right now, I have either my friends are moms already or they're becoming moms. So yes, like I'm in that shift right now where everyone's kind of doing that. And I feel like just really knowing, like taking care of yourself. That's why I said it is a healing journey when you're becoming a mom, because you're learning how to regulate your emotions for your baby. And I feel like just not being so hard on yourself. Not when I was pregnant, I had all these expectations of like how long I wanted to breastfeed, like all these different stuff. And once I was there in the moment, it's so different. So then you kind of just like do your best. I would say just do your best. Everyone's circumstances is also different. Do your best. Don't be so hard on yourself. As long as you know you care and you're trying to be the best version of yourself for your baby, that's the best you can do. I would also say like try to find a support system around you. I know not everyone, has family right away, but if you don't have family, then friends. There's always support. So I try to be that on my social media. Like on my bio, I put motherhood, because if you're a mom and you need to reach out to another mom and just ask her a question, I'm there.
Yeah.
So I feel like just there's a big mom community, and we're all going through different situations as well with like our partners and stuff. So it can be a lot on women. Like I said, we don't talk about it a lot, but yeah, motherhood is like the most beautiful but difficult thing, I would say. Yeah. But it makes you grow, just like everything in life. Like, I feel like you have to grow, and the only way you grow is when you do something difficult, something you're scared of, something you're nervous about, and you just throw yourself. For me personally, it was really hard because I got gestational diabetes when I was pregnant. So I gained a lot of weight. So even after I had delivered the baby, I was 200. And for me personally, everyone has their own everything. For me, that made me depressed. Yeah. That made me not feel like myself, especially with everything I wanted to do with social media, with modeling, with videos. Like I just wasn't feeling my best self. So, but you just had a baby, so like you have to give yourself grace. Right. So I gave myself grace. Like I said, there was nothing I could do to control having gestational diabetes. I took the body changes, and after, the doctor tells you, okay, now you can start like working out and everything. Then I was like, okay, like let me go in. So I started working out. I changed. I think working out, I feel like that's what people mostly focus on. It's not about working out 100%. I think it's about really like just giving your body the right nutrients. And not even a lot of us know like what that is. We'd be like, well, I ate pizza. Like, so I had food. Like,
the whole like, girl dinner thing fucking drives me insane.
Exactly. And I just, it's really, really important to prioritize yourself and your health from within spiritually, and then I would say your health, and then your mental health, and then all that stuff starts showing up on the outside, because you're taking care of yourself. And you can't take care of another little human being if you're not taking care of yourself. So I started taking care of myself like really well. And then when the Arizona Fashion Week thing came, I was scared to try out. Because I was like, okay, I knew myself before I had a baby, and I was like, I don't know if this is like they're gonna choose me, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I didn't know, but I did it just to I went to the casting just for myself, to prove to myself like that I could still run that I could still walk the runway. And I just did it I was scared, I did it. And so that's why I tell people, like, when I feel like when you're scared of something, that's kind of like life signaling to you that you can grow there. Right. So like take the chance. I took the chance. I went to the casting. I was like number 300 something. I was like one of the last people they saw. I was like, there you go again, comparing yourself to everyone around you. You're just like, oh my gosh, like everyone is so young and beautiful. I just had a baby. But no, like you really just have to like focus on yourself. And like I said, I focused on myself. I did the casting. I didn't care what anyone was going to think or say or anything. I did it to prove it to myself that, hey, I still can go to a casting and walk in front of people, because that takes some courage to like walk in front of some people. And I did it. And then, yeah, like I got casted for Arizona Fashion Week this year, and it's been such a blessing, such a amazing journey. I've met so many amazing people. Like I guess if I wouldn't have gone to the casting, I would have never known. But that's what's crazy, is like I would have never known how much I'm growing now, because I did just take that step. Maybe I would even say I wasn't 100% ready when I did the casting, but now with, you know, being around other models, getting other tips, more coaching, just working even more on myself, I feel like I'm getting there still. So
yeah. Parenthood is something that, like, obviously no one is prepared for parenthood. They can say all they want that they are prepared, but I feel like there's still so many, like, it definitely did hit pretty hard when you were saying of, like, how you gained all this weight and you were looking at yourself, and by society standards, that you're not this hot woman or whatever, and I say that in air quotes, because of the fact of, like, what you just did was the most beautiful thing a human can do. You just grew a human being inside of your own body. Yeah, you're gonna fucking gain some weight. If you didn't, I'd be a little worried about you. If you grew another human being inside of you and you didn't gain any weight, there's probably some issues underlying there. And I think that's something that men underestimate quite a bit too. Like, they expect a woman to, like, grow this human and then go back to this, like, Victoria's Secret type of body.
I feel like society, it's not just men, I feel like society, women put that pressure, like I said, on themselves too, from seeing, I would say, like, celebrities just like bounce back so fast, but you don't know what surgeries or what stuff they went through to just bounce back. Like, that's why we go back to the same principality of not comparing yourself to other people and just focusing on you. Like, when I did, like, gain all that weight, like I said, it was very difficult on my mental health, but it was, I think, what started my journey to want to heal myself and be healthier and heal my mental health more as well. And today is mental health day.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. Well, I mean,
so it kind of ties into all this, because it's a big part. I would say, like, that is one of the biggest parts in life, and it's all connected, I think, to your health and to what your belief, your faith, how you see yourself. It's all connected. It's not just one thing. Right. I feel like people, when they focus on just one thing, they kind of lose track of everything else. So it's balancing, it's prioritizing, especially as a mom. It's prioritizing, like, scheduling wise. I would say, like, you know, I'm a mom first. That's why when I introduced myself, I was like, I'm a mom. Because that is my number one priority.
It's its own full-time job.
Yeah, but you can do it. I want to show women that you can do it. If you're a young mom, and if you, no matter what your circumstances are, if you have goals in mind and places you see yourself at, you can do it. If you put your hard work and you set up a plan, then life will start opening up those doors for you.
Yeah. I know that everybody has their own struggles, and regardless of how perfect people or, like, your followers on your Instagram think that your life is, everyone has their own struggles. I'm curious about some of the biggest struggles that you've dealt with in your past, some that you've overcome, but then some that you might struggle with today still, that people from the outside looking in would have no idea about.
Okay. I'm like, is this my therapy session?
Honestly.
I'm like, I do go to therapy.
There you go.
So, I would say it goes back to my family, my family life. It's just been a struggle with my stepdad, like the communication, the love. Like, I was raised by this guy, you know, who I thought loved me. Sorry.
No, you're good.
And then, like, you grow up and maybe you just see, like, he just kind of, like, just doesn't communicate, or it's just that fatherly love that was like gone.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say that is what I obviously still kind of struggle with balancing. But I'm grateful that, like, I always try to look at the good things in every situation. That's what therapy has really taught me. Like, you need to, yes, everyone has these bad circumstances, but what is the good out of it? Well, the good out of that is I have my sisters that I love so much. They're like, they are my support, like part of my support system. They're like the best aunts for Imani. That's my baby. And, you know, and because I guess part of how he's been, it has been my motivation to make me who I am today. So maybe if he would have been like the most perfect father, that I would have maybe just wanted to stay home longer.
Right.
You know? And because of those circumstances, I was like, no, I just want to leave and do my own thing. But it's hard, I guess, now because the baby, you know, like I just want him to also feel like, you know, this man loves him, but also not get like traumatized by him if he like is ignoring him and stuff. So
are you talking about your baby? Or
yeah, with like my stepdad, because like I said, he can just be very cold. It's very hard to explain other than saying has narcissistic tendencies from what my therapist tells me. So I was pretty much in a narcissistic home.
Yeah.
Raised in a narcissistic home. So it's a lot of emotional things and triggers.
I feel like it's even more tough because it's especially that generation. I feel like the men of that generation are the men that are bred from the men that are saying like, men cannot have emotion, no communication. You are there to be the fucking breadwinner. Oh yeah. You're there to work your ass off. Like that's where the value of a man comes from. It's literally like there was an old thing that I was saying that like the value of a man is only based off of what he does. That's the old like that, and that's what that's like the old mentality. That is what is instilled in us at a very even me. I was raised by a single mother, but because like my brother had a certain mentality from his father, and then other men around me, and then like other friends having fathers that were kind of like that, it's always instilled with you like if you want to provide value in this world, you have to contribute in some way. A woman is valued by being a woman, but a man is valued by what he brings to a table. And that's kind of like somewhat of the situation I feel like that we're in. But because of that, I feel like a lot of the men, especially of that generation, do not understand the damage that they're causing with the fact of like, no, I'm not going to fucking say anything about like, the fuck is a feeling? I don't have feelings. Like, no, like I'm a fucking man.
Yeah, I don't believe in therapy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, and it's also, it sucks because it wasn't, I feel like, until within the last probably decade that therapy actually became a thing other than just like, okay, tell me about your problems. I'm going to label you as a psycho. Like, back in our parents' age, therapy wasn't what it is today. Yeah.
It's like, oh, let me put you in this, like, mental institution.
Exactly. So it's like, yes, it would have been nice if our parents or whatever had those therapeutic kind of outlets, but at the same time, it's not what we experience today. Like, I realized from my childhood I had to go into therapy in order to become free, and it's a lot of things of just like understanding your own faults but then fixing it. So it's good that like you came from that whole situation to where you had a narcissistic father figure, but instead of running with that, and I don't want to say not victimizing yourself because I don't know other people's situations and I don't want them to feel bad for doing such, but you kind of took that as like, you're not going to let it beat you down. You're not going to let it. Yeah. And I mean, the fact that you do have a partner today, it's also, I think impressive is the wrong term for it, but like you're able to still have a relationship with a male. You're able, like that relationship with your father didn't completely deter you from any type of relationship.
Yeah, to be like, oh my God, I hate men.
Yeah, like that's a very...
Yeah, no, you can't have that mentality of like, I hate men. Like,
yeah,
no.
'Cause I mean, yes, there are some bad apples out there.
Yes, but there are good ones.
Yeah.
I promise, there's good ones.
How long have you been with yours?
7 years.
See? And it's not even like one of those commitment issue type of things where it's like every
Yeah.
6 months you're hopping from guy to guy. And no shame for anyone who does that. I don't know your life. But, I mean, the fact that you had...
Like I said, I have friends who are in different circumstances.
Yeah.
So, like, it's the guy, it's how you choose. So, like, because I did grow up, I feel like with those tendencies, I was like, okay, this is what I don't want in a man. Like, I don't want him to treat me this way. I don't want him to not tell me how he feels. So, like I said, everyone's on their journey in it.
Yeah.
Because of the what I did go through in my childhood, I would say, like, it's helped me, guided me to really find someone that would be a good partner. And yeah.
It's good that you were able to also recognize that as a what not to do instead of a lesson, because that was kind of one of the things that I did in my childhood because of the relationships I had with my parents. Instead of like learning this is what to do, immediately somehow it was already wired in my brain of this is what not to do, or this is what not to look for in a partner, this is what. And the fact that you were able to kind of recognize those tendencies from this father figure as traits that you do not want in a man, instead of trying to fulfill this desire almost to chase those. Because I know a lot of girls in their young years, the man or their father is it's a really weird quote for me to even say out loud, but like the father's the first man you fall in love with.
It is.
And you tend to kind of chase that kind of figure later in life as a partner.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds all weird, but
well,
it's literally the
I'm not gonna lie, I had some crazy exes, so I did. It's just like I learned my lessons from them, and I always like knew being a step kid, I really, really, like, my biggest desire was, and I'm not, like, everyone's biggest desire is to just, like, have their own family, never, like, break it up, you know?
Right.
But, like, I think because I was a step kid and experienced what it was like to be in a blended family, that's really, like, the last thing I want for my child is to have a blended family. Because, like, yes, like, you can have other parent figures, and some are amazing. I've seen amazing step parents. So, but there's just that, like, emotional connection with your DNA. Like, you can't deny it, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, I think me spiritually, because my dad passed away so young, I always, like, believed that there was, like, God.
Yeah.
I did. Just because of that. Like, I was like, you know, I know he's somewhere, because I don't even know him, but I feel him, and I feel like I know him, so he has to be somewhere. So I always believed. Growing up, it was so weird. I actually, like, it took me a long time to realize other people don't believe.
Yeah.
So
I know that was a weird thing for me, because I grew up with the opposite. I grew up not going to church. I grew up completely the opposite of faith, and it wasn't until my early 20s that I discovered that, and it was only in my own account. And I never like to push people into it. I discovered it in my own account and on my own terms, which is what helped me to grow closer in that faith. And I think that's I always say that's one of the things that it's a pattern I've seen in quote unquote successful people. It's not, you don't have to be Christian, you don't have to be Catholic, you don't have to be Mormon. But having
like religion and faith, I would say, are just so different.
But believing in something higher than yourself is one of the biggest patterns I've seen in people that have this financial success or this quote-unquote success in their life.
Yeah.
They don't have this God complex that they run everything. That's only in the movies that kind of shit happens. In real life, they have the complex of understanding that there's something out there bigger than themselves.
Yeah.
So you don't have to fall into a certain religion. You don't have to fall into a certain faith.
Yeah. I would say I wasn't really, honestly, like, super religious growing up. Like, my parents were Catholic, and they did, like, we would go to church here and there. But then I would say growing up, like I said, I tried to explore, like, different things. I've gone to Christian churches. I've gone into, like, the realm of just spirituality.
Right.
And so, and it all brought me back to just my faith and my relationship with God.
This might be a bit of a personal question, and if it is, we can just move on to the next thing. But you did kind of mention a little bit about faith and then being in a 7-year relationship. with especially having a child now, I think you know where I'm kind of going with
Okay,
this.
okay.
Is there a reason that marriage hasn't entered the picture?
So, well, when we got engaged, it was like right when I did get pregnant, and that was kind of during COVID.
Oh, okay.
So,
So you guys are engaged?
I'm engaged, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So ideally, but yeah, we're not married. Actually, that's kind of what in the Catholic Church kind of drove me a little bit away, because I was growing up Catholic, and then once I went up to the priest, you know, and I just went, you know, just to confess yourself, and
Right.
I went innocently, you know, thinking, because usually they just like pardon you and tell you like, oh, you pray this, and you know, like that. And so when he's like, well, you're living with your partner, so you're like in like mortal sin.
Really?
And then that like scared me, and that kind of took me a step back, and I was like, you know, well, he doesn't know my circumstances. He doesn't know why I wanted to move out and get a house, and he doesn't know my journey, and he's telling me that I'm pretty much like, you know, so that's kind of what made me steer away a little bit from Catholic. And then I just feel like religion is a very touchy subject. I really feel like it's more like your relationship with God.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So is it because marriage is a little bit more on the religious subject?
Oh no, I do want to get married. I just want a traditional Mexican wedding back in Mexico. So we're saving up for that.
Okay. So there hasn't been, because like 7 years, that's quite, like technically I think according to Arizona law or something, that's marriage. I forgot what the term is called. I think it's like after 5 years of like being together, common law marriage.
Oh, okay. I don't think that applies in Arizona, does it?
I have no idea.
I don't think it does. But I mean, I have, to be honest, thought, oh, like, let's go get married like civilly, you know, just like, but I don't know. I just really want that traditional big wedding moment. So I don't want to just go sign a paper. I want it to feel
so it's been like
real,
because you wanted to save up for it. And okay. So it hasn't just been like, you guys don't know about, like, obviously you guys know, it's just like you guys want to wait until you have the ability to have the wedding that you want, which I actually find that very admirable, because I feel like there is a lot of pressure, especially
a lot of pressure.
Our parents were like, oh yeah, we got married when we were 18 and had kids like when we were 20. I'm like, I'm 24 and I couldn't imagine having a child yet and being married. Like, if I was to be married to the person I was with when I was 18, I can guarantee you I would not be a happy camper right now. Yeah. That was not the person that I could have seen myself being with for the rest of my life.
How I see it is that I'm on a journey. Yeah. So yeah, maybe right now, but I didn't know, to be honest. Before, I didn't really know until I learned more about faith and everything. I was like, oh, but I was already in the situation. So what was I supposed to do? So I feel like I'm on a journey, and God is working on me, and he's taking me there, you know, and I will eventually get there. It's just like having that goal and
in due time
and taking those steps towards it, you know. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yeah. So there's one question that I ask, or I try to ask everybody I can, because of how different everyone's answers are, depending on your background, depending on everything.
Oh gosh, I should have listened to the other episode.
You're good. It's honestly, this question hasn't been released in the recent episodes, so even if you were listening, I mean, not to say you shouldn't listen, but and since I started doing this is a little bit more of a newer tradition that we have.
Okay.
For you, what is your definition of success, and at what point or what needs to happen in your life for you to officially say that you've reached it?
Ooh, okay. Well, I feel like there's two different successes. I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but the way I see it, like, I think having peace is like the biggest success you can have. But obviously you're not going to always have peace. Like, it's life. You're going to have tribulations, and you're going to have to get through things. But just knowing how to react, I think, and growing in those instances is a big success. And then I would say, like, career-wise success, my biggest is kind of just to set up my son for more success.
Okay.
So now, like I said, now it's not just about myself. It's about what could have my parents done to have made to make life easier for me. I want to be able to do that for my child.
Gotcha. So what do you think in your life needs to happen specifically to make it to where you've reached a point where you can say that you are successful? Well,
I would say right now I'm successful.
Yeah.
I feel like there's just different levels. Yeah, because right now I'm happy, I'm blessed, I have a home, I'm healthy, I have a good support system, my baby's healthy. Like, those are all big blessings that just with that I'm happy, you know? And I would say I am successful, like, especially for my age. I'm a homeowner, you know? I'm just out here like living my dreams.
Yeah.
So I just feel like everyone has different like tiers of success, you know. For someone else it might be like, oh well, once I make $1 million.
Right.
Obviously we all have that, like, oh my god, I want that, but you're not going to say you're not successful because you don't have that, you know.
No, and that's one of the reasons why I asked, because there are some people that like, oh, the day that I wake up and my account has 2 comments is the day I call myself successful. And
well, money comes and goes. So.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong necessarily with those kinds of aspirations. Obviously, it fully depends on where you come from and stuff. Mm-hmm. For me, that used to be like a definition of success. Is like, I know I'm successful and I get to wake up in my penthouse and I get to wake up at whatever time I want and look in my account and see that there's more than enough money for me to do whatever the fuck I want to do that day. But then I was like obviously talking to as many entrepreneurs now as I have and talking to everyone else. I'm like,
has it changed your perspective?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, so now what is success to you?
For me, and obviously my definition is never cemented, and I never want to make it cemented. It's going to be changing based off of where I'm at in my journey. But for me right now, it's being able to freely chase what I want to without having the kind of guilt of like money and stuff. It's like, oh, I should have been saving for this. Like, I want to be able to chase down opportunities and be able to have that kind of freedom for myself. Like, mm-hmm. I'm never going to want to stop working, but I want to do what I want for work and then also be able to have my own ability to control my own time. So if I want to take off a day to spend with my family, I don't want to have to call my boss and be like, hey, can I use some PTO? I want to be able to be like, hey, call the office. Hey, I'm not going to come in for this next week. Yeah. Y'all can, I trust you guys that you guys aren't going to set anything on fire. So like freedom. And then time. Because I never had it before, I'd say financial stability and mm-hmm. financial, and it's not to say like I want to be Jeff Bezos rich or anything, but I want to get to a point where I never have to worry about bills coming out. And I can continuously try new things without having to worry about what it's going to do to my bank account. I could just, and that's not to say like I'm going to go and drop $1 million on another card tomorrow. But like if there's a new app that's like a meditation app and it's $14 a month, I want to be able to be like, oh yeah, easy. Okay, here you go. Yeah, like those extra little like luxuries. Yeah, little tiny things. Say. Or be like, mm-hmm. if I do take off this, it's not going to hurt. Like I'm still going to be able to pay rent, or hopefully I'm not even paying rent at that time. It's hopefully I can still do this. It's not... I've learned with money, the more you worry, the more it runs away from you. Like right now, I'm in a predicament of I'm not able to fully go on vacation or travel because of the fact of every day I'm not working is a day I'm losing money to be able to afford any type of lifestyle I have. And that's not saying that I live like a luxurious lifestyle that's doing all this, but I have to work at a certain point where if I take off a certain time, then Anyway, I'm going to let you do your little outro. We're kind of getting the signal that you got to go for your casting. Guys. But okay, yes. Hi, my name is Cassandra, and I've been unmasked. Heck yeah, awesome. Thank you so much.